Hello, everyone. This is Alex, and welcome to the first episode of this new series I'm putting together where we will learn how to code using Lua inside of Minecraft. And that is all thanks to a mod called CC Tweaked, which is actually just a fork of an older mod called ComputerCraft, which has been around for at least a decade. I don't know exactly how long, but quite a long time. And this series is assuming you have no prior programming experience. So if this is going to be completely beginner friendly. So if you've never programmed before or you're just curious to check it out, see what it's all about, then this is a great place to get started. I have here just some examples of what ComputerCraft offers, or CC Tweaked. They're the same thing. It's even called ComputerCraft in the menu. So that is what I will refer to it as. Anyway, we got ourselves a computer that we can place in the game, and they are programmable. You can run things kind of like it's a terminal, or you can have programs that you make that you run or have it run automatically. We also got little robots here, essentially, that are called turtles. There's all different kinds of turtles, and you can program them to do your bidding for you. We also have tablets that you can hold out in your hand and use on the go wherever you're at. And all of these computers can be connected wirelessly with modems or cables if you want to be barbaric. So here's just a little front door, just an example of something you can do, something basic. You have an iron door that you can't open, but you have this little handy dandy tablet. We'll just turn it on, door opens, and there we go. Door closes behind you, and the tablet turns back off. This is done with a computer that's basically just running in the background, waiting to receive some sort of signal. And it says it received signal from 3, which is my tablet. It's like the computer ID. And it opened the door, closed the door, and simple. It's still running in the background. So whenever I turn it on, it's going to do it again. I'm actually going to be doing all of my programming in Visual Studio Code. I'll have a link in the description to that if you want to check it out. It's very nice. So I will not be in game, and we're going to do a little transition. And we're back. We're in Visual Studio Code. I got myself a ComputerCraft terminal here on the right, just like the one in the game. And we've got ourselves our little text editor on the left. This is just for preference. Everything I do here, you can do in a game, so you don't have to stress about that. Hey, this is Alex in the future. I'm just cutting in because I completely forgot something super important. When you go to edit your program, to do that in game, you just do edit and then your program name, whatever you want to call it. For the sake of this series, I'm going to name my program Weasel, and you just type edit Weasel or edit name. It will add the .lua extension automatically. You can add that if you want, but just know that these are Lua files. And that is it. On to the video. And we're just going to jump right in, not to waste any more of your time. Of course, any programming tutorial, the first thing to learn is how to put text on a screen, of course. The classic hello world, if you will. There's 2 ways to do that. You got yourself print and write. There are 2 different functions. I will just go ahead and put something on the screen right now. Just printed and written. We're going to go ahead and run this. And we've got ourselves 2 things appearing on the screen. Now we have a little cursor in the terminal, a little greater than sign with our blinking cursor. And you'll notice that it is positioned right after written. And that is the key difference between these 2 functions, is when we use print, which I'll go ahead and change this to print, just so you can see. And we run this. I'm going to clear the screen. Now the cursor is on the bottom. So print, what that does is it includes something called a line break. So whatever is put on the screen, right after, it's going to go right down to the next line, and where we would be typing down here. For write, it does not do that. I'm going to go ahead and change this back to write. And we're going to throw in another print. Why not? Printed. And we'll run this again, just so you can see what it looks like. Aha, that looks a little off. Printed is right after written, no space, nothing. Looks kind of sloppy. And that is because with write, there is no line break. So right after it runs it, it's just going to place your cursor right there for you to mess around with. So let's go into the next little thing. We're going to talk about variables. Variables are a key feature in any programming language. Essentially, all it is a placeholder. So maybe I'll put name. And we're going to set my name to Alex, because that's me. Now, instead of doing print Alex, I can instead do print name, and it will mean Alex. And it's very convenient when you're having to use input from a user, because you can never plan what a user is going to put. So, and you can print that out dynamically. Go ahead and run this, and you'll see my name twice, because we printed it out twice. Just one where I put it in manually and one where I pulled it from a variable that I manually set. My favorite food as, I don't know, burritos. And maybe we want to put two variables together in one sentence. So we can say name, aka Alex, and then there's a little thing you can do called concatenate. And what that means is it's to join together. And it's done with just 2 dots. Put 2 dots, and then you can put the next variable or some text maybe. So I'm going to put some text and say likes. And you'll notice I put a little space in here. And that is because if we don't, then it's going to be all jumbled together with no spaces. So you got to make sure you put a space before and after, and then we'll concatenate it again. Food. If you think it's going to look like Alex likes burritos, then you would be correct. Or burrito, I didn't make it plural. There's multiple different data types. These inside of the quotations, they are what you'd call strings, which is just a fancy way to mean text. Or you can think of it as a string of letters. String together to make words. So just any letters in quotations. It could also be numbers. But as long as they're in quotations, that's a string. That's very important to keep in mind, and we will dive into that more on why it is later. So we got ourselves a string for actual numbers that are treated like numbers, like you're trying to do some math or calculations. You just put a number with no quotations at all, and that is an integer. There's another value called booleans, which is all that is. It's a funny word to mean true or false. So I'm going to just type bool, just shortened, and we're going to put true. Actually, I think it's lowercase in Lua. Yep. True or false, those are Boolean values, which we won't worry about right now. I think for the time being, just to kind of keep the course load small so you're not overwhelmed, just remember the strings and the integers, because they are very important. You cannot add strings together mathematically. You can add integers together, and the program will throw a fit if you try to do that. The last thing we will go over is how to take user input, because you want to make your programs interactive, right? Otherwise, they're kind of boring. It's pretty easy, actually. First, we just put on the screen, like say, what is your name? And then to get input, you just use the read command. We'll go ahead and run, and you can see what that looks like. What is my name? Alex. You notice nothing happened. What gives? Well, that's because read, all that does is it lets you take input, but I didn't put it into any sort of variable. So I can put that read inside of a print function just to print out what it is I typed. So we'll run that again, type Alex, and look, it spits that out right back at me, which isn't all that useful. You want to take what they type and have the computer remember that to be used later. I always like to use input equals read. And that's going to take what the user types and stick it in input. So I'll go ahead and print input. And it should basically do what this did right again, just print Alex right back at me. So what is your name? Alex, and there you go. It tells me. Um, Maybe we want it to be a little more interactive, so we can use the concatenate feature again. So maybe it can say hello, put a space, put 2 dots, and it will just say hello to me when I put my name. Very cool, huh? Very basic. I know it's pretty underwhelming, but this is a great place to start. I hope you enjoyed, and I will have the next video out very soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye.